Hello,
Hello, Jeff.
this is he.
Hello. Can you hear me all right?
I can.
Very good. Are you in California?
I am.
Gotcha. How's the whole COVID situation there? Are the numbers coming down?
Yeah, my wife has a yoga studio, and she was able to open it up last
Oh,
week for the first time
nice.
in practically. Well, there was a couple of flirtations with trying to get it open
Sure.
last summer, but she's been basically doing mostly virtual and outdoor classes since last summer. So it's nice to be opened up again. So yeah, starting to
Definitely.
come down,
That's good.
looking better
Yeah,
on the horizon.
very good to hear. So, have you ever gone this long without touring since maybe a teenager or something?
Nah. This long without touring, I'm trying to think. There might have been a point in the early '90s where I didn't tour
Okay.
this as much, but not in a long time.
I definitely imagine. I know you're extremely busy.
I don't think I've ever gone more than a year without doing a show, though. That's
True.
pretty ridiculous.
All right, you have a new album coming out with the End Machine called Phase 2. Comes out on April 9th. Another killer record. It's full of well-crafted hard rock songs. Got great hooks, great melodies, and strong performances throughout. And Robert's voice sounds just extremely good here. I mean, he always sounds great, but on this record,
Yep.
it may be his best.
Yeah, I think he did. He really delivered on this one, no question.
So how was this recorded through sharing files because of COVID, or did you guys get together?
Well, all of George's stuff was done remotely, but there's a program now where I can run his studio from my studio.
Oh, really?
Which is pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool thing.
That is.
And so that's how we did all of his tracks, and the writing we did all remotely as well.
Yep.
But Robert recorded. Robert did come here to record, and Steve did the drums here. So guitars all remote. Everything else done here.
Okay. After listening to this record, I read it before, but it is kind of crazy how Steve does. I mean, sound so much like Mick. I mean, it.
Yeah, and even when you're playing and you're recording the track, it feels just like playing with Mick. It's miraculous. I mean, we actually really lucked out because, I was happy for Mick that he was going to get to retire.
Right.
And that was cool. But I was bummed out that he wasn't going to be able to be in the band anymore because I love Mick and I love the way he plays and I love the way he sings and everything else. So, we just scored with Steve. He's so great. He sings a lot like Mick and he sings great and he plays fabulous and he can do what Mick does and he just adds so much enthusiasm and energy. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he hits just as hard, and it sounds like the same pocket. It's so close.
Yeah. Well, he grew up with it.
Right.
I've known Steve since he was 15. So.
After all these years, does George Lynch ever still surprise you? I mean, he could still come up with these great riffs and killer solos, and he's got that one thing everybody's looking for is his own sound.
Me all the time.
Yeah.
Because I know him so well, but where his passion comes from is so deeply rooted and it's so soulful that I still learn and am impressed by that. Every time we get together. He is a genius. He really is. He can, he can be inconsistent sometimes, but he's such a genius that when he's on, he's like nobody else in the world, and it's the most amazing thing I've ever been around. I feel very, very fortunate being around, getting to work with him as much as I have. It's been a tremendously rewarding experience.
Yeah. Are you guys at the point now where you're almost able to finish each other's sentences, musically speaking?
Sure.
Okay.
We were like that, in 1985. So,
okay. Gotcha. Because when you two work together, there's always a consistency. There's always this thing, every project you two have been in, it's always a little different, but there's a consistency to it that's always.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and George likes to say he thinks of it as all one big, long, continuous project, everything we've done, which is an interesting way of looking at it. But he's got a point.
Yeah. I don't mean that in a bad way where it sounds the same. It's different,
No,
but
it's
there's
not a bad thing, but I mean, it could come across like it's a bad thing, but no, it's actually very good. It's just our chemistry. It's just what happens.
yeah. So how is it working with Frontiers Music? They seem pretty hands on, which is
They're hands on, as you know, they certainly want to be happy with the music, but I mean, I love dealing with Frontiers. They're very straight ahead. They're good straight ahead, upfront business people. So that's all good. And they love the music, and that to me is the most important thing. I mean, they love this. They're putting out these records because they love them.
right.
Sure, they want to make money. Sure, it's a business thing and everything else, but they honestly love this music, and that's, to me, that's so key, because that's kind of what produced the great music of the past. When you had Ahmet Ertegun and Atlantic Records, standing behind Cream and Led Zeppelin and Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young, you had amazing music coming out because those music people loved music. A lot of the major labels, I don't think music is the favorite love of the people that run those labels.
Yeah.
Maybe some of them are, but most of them are businessmen or accountants or something, and it's about the dollars, and even though it's about business with Frontiers, it is very much about the music, and that's what I love.
One thing I respect so much about your playing in your career is in your writing, you never take away from the song. I mean, what I mean is, like, some bass players who write, they like to throw in a lot of bass, they, like kind of try to push themselves in the forefront. And you never seem to do that. And it's, although Prison or Paradise, you are nicely highlighted in that song, which
yeah, for a moment there, yeah.
Yeah, which sounds good. But I just like that about your writing. It's just tasteful.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, to me, it's all about supporting the music and making the song better, bass playing is, rather than showing off. I mean, I do think there's times when it's very cool when, if you're Billy Sheehan and you can play like that, I'm glad you do, because I enjoy it a lot.
Yep.
But that's not what I do. And if I tried, I'd look like an idiot. So I just, like I say, for me, bass playing, my favorite bass playing stuff is groove stuff and interesting melodic stuff, If you combine Paul McCartney, Chris Squire, John Paul Jones, and James Jamerson, those are my guys that I love.
Okay, that's kind of where you come from?
Yep.
As far as the bass. Okay. So we're never going to get some sort of crazy bass solo album from you just to prove you can shred?
You never know. I do love to play bass.
Yeah?
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I would probably enjoy doing that, so maybe someday, but it would still be more music and song oriented than it would be bass masturbation oriented.
Right. Okay. Let's see. So I think the strongest Dokken album past that classic lineup was Erase the Slate, the one you wrote with Reb. And
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I spoke with Reb a while ago, and he said how fun and easy that was to write because of the chemistry you guys had, and that's what made him want to do the Black Swan album so much as well. Do you feel the same?
I do. I feel exactly the same. I mean, I love working with Reb. I mean, God, this guy is just so talented. Not only as a guitar player, but as a writer.
Yep.
He is just so capable. All-around musician, sings great. I love working with Reb. So, and it did kind of give birth to Black Swan in many ways.
Yeah.
And so I don't take it for granted. I think that's a cool thing.
Yeah, and I don't know how you write because I tried to do an interview with him, but I just ended up laughing most of the time. I couldn't,
Well, he is one of the funniest people you'll ever meet.
Yeah, I would say. Jesus, I couldn't, I stepped all over him because I kept laughing. But
yeah, I get that. Yeah. I really do.
Yeah, and that was the Black Swan album was so good, and I have heard that there's going to be a second. Is that correct?
Well, yeah. The plan was to start writing in January, but COVID was still pretty bad in LA. So we're talking about hopefully April to start writing that, but we'll see. But things are looking better. So I've definitely I can definitely envision there being a second Black Swan record sometime next year.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. Because it's just so good to hear Robin's voice again. I know he's done some stuff, but I haven't heard him since MSG, like when he did those ones. But
yeah, Robin is just a gem of a singer.
Yeah. I just love the character in his voice. It's so unique, and it's just
yeah, it's amazing.
Yep. So
soulful but melodic, and powerful but beautiful.
Right. Definitely. Yep. So do you like in today's music scene, like it seems like almost everybody has to have many projects going. Do you enjoy that aspect of it, working with others, or do you kind of miss the days where you had your band, you had the one band, and that's all you do?
Well, kind of both, really.
Mm-hmm.
I miss a band that can go in for a couple of months into a rehearsal place and start writing together, and you sit down and play and come up with ideas. I miss that. That was a great thing. I mean, that was one of the real fun aspects of Dokken. And, Foreigner doesn't really get to do that very much. So when we do, it's really fun. But we're more of a road band. So, I do miss that. But because that isn't there, having these other outlets and dealing with other people and collaborating with other people has just been an amazing gift. And I really enjoy that.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. It's fun to hear all these different players, mixing and mashing and going elsewhere too, from a listener standpoint. Right. Yep. Now for the obligatory Dokken section of the interview here. For me, Tooth and Nail, Under Lock and Key, and Back for the Attack were some of the best records of that decade. It's just from my personal opinion. There's an energy and a sound that it's hard to duplicate. Do you personally understand why people are still hung up on those Dokken albums, or or are you like, what, why?
No, I think I understand it. Yeah, I mean, I put it this way: I really appreciate the chemistry that we had, and I recognize what we were doing that resonated. I believe. And I think I understand, how that came about. And so, yeah, I have nothing but reverence for that, to be honest with you now. I mean, I was probably not as much 30 years ago. Yeah. But now I sure do.
Gotcha. Right. Okay. And now I don't want to rehash all the legendary dysfunction and the battles between Don and George or all that. But how stressful of a working environment for you was that?
Well, sometimes it was extremely stressful. Sometimes it was extremely uncomfortable. It's just that dark kind of feeling. Yeah. And, when guys were in bad moods, it would be weird and all that kind of thing. I mean, usual. Yeah. But then again, it also probably wasn't as bad as people thought. And I even thought us breaking up in 1989 was very premature. But yeah, it was uncomfortable, and I know I couldn't be on the road with that environment anymore, because back then, we had sex, drugs, and then there was also some rock and roll. But now it's all about rock and roll for me. So it's like better get along with the people I'm making music with.
Right. Yep, definitely. I get from your personality and stuff that maybe you were kind of a conduit between the two. Is that true, or did you kind of?
Well, yeah, to a certain extent, I think. I mean, that was kind of how I was portrayed when the whole thing kind of got, when publicists got involved and people wanted to try to make that our press hook. Right. But there was truth to that, sure, because I was the one that would go back and forth writing, so I couldn't help but happen to a certain extent. And I think I talked them both off ledges a few times. But everybody had their own individual dynamics as well, so it wasn't all that.
Do you think the band would have made it to, 89, I think it was, without you in the lineup?
Oh, I have no way of answering that. I mean, it depends who would have been there instead of me. I mean, that's the big part of it. There's plenty of other guys that would have been capable of doing what I did, that's for sure. But, I mean, I think, my particular strengths did happen to coincide very well with the rest of the band, and that gave us a group chemistry that I think was really powerful. So, sure, I suppose I'd like to think that, it could have only been that with me there, but,
right.
In reality, it would have been different.
Yep.
But, somebody else could have made the band work for sure.
Right. And I listened to a recent interview, and you said you hadn't completely closed that Dokken door yet and would still have interest in making a final record. Do you still feel that way? Is that still?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think we all feel that way.
Yeah.
I think there's that little bit of unfinished business left there.
Mm-hmm.
And, part of that stems from the fact that I think we did break up prematurely in 1989. Yeah. And, I think there's one more really great record in this, at least, that I would feel good about putting down, and having recorded, before we call it a day. So,
right.
I hope, we'll see.
Okay. Yeah. Very good. Now, you've been with Foreigner since 2004. Personally, I don't understand why they're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame yet. I mean, if you take just their first two records, that should be strong enough. I mean, so many great songs, so many hits.
But yet, it comes down to, the critics.
Yeah.
Foreigner wasn't cool with a lot of the critics. It was corporate rock and sellout and blah, blah, blah. And that means a lot to a lot of those kind of guys.
Right.
But I actually have faith that there will come a day when Foreigner gets recognized, the original band, and I think it should, because I think they were great. I was a big fan.
Yeah.
And let's hope it does, because I think that would be rock and roll justice right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you listen to those songs and you can't. I mean, it's like
At least Mick and Lou got into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and that's, in a sense, to them, I think that's more important.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So you said you were a fan of their music prior to joining?
Oh, huge. Huge fan.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I mean, Foreigner was a bit of a template for bands like Dokken and Rat and whatnot,
yep.
in that they were hard rock, but they had these great choruses and big songs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that taught us a lot, because when you heard that chorus on Feels Like the First Time,
oh, yeah.
Sure, it was rocking, but man, that sounded like a hit song.
Yep.
So I think that turned a lot of heads, and I know mine was one of them.
Yeah, that was. So how did you end up in Foreigner anyway?
Well, I did a movie in the year 2000. It came out in 2001, but it was a movie called Rockstar.
Right.
And in the movie with me was Jason Bonham, of course, son of legendary Zeppelin drummer John Bonham.
Yes.
And so Jason and I were in the movie together. We got along really well. We played great together, and it was just a good click. So when he started working with Mick Jones in 2004, they just called me up and they said, "Do you want to come down?" They didn't really know if it was going to be Foreigner or Mick Jones solo or what it was going to be. But Jason kind of pushed him into revamping Foreigner. And once we started playing, it just clicked immediately. And then the following spring, we got Kelly Hansen, and then the rest was it was an unstoppable train at that point.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And is Mick ready to get back out there? You guys?
Oh yeah, like everybody, he's anxious to play. He's in really good spirits and good health. So
good. Okay.
I would say he's as itching to go as anybody.
Very good. All right. Awesome to hear. Well, I really enjoy this new record. I think it's equally as good as the first. I enjoy them both a ton, and look forward to whatever else you have coming down the pike after that. Do you got anything else to talk? Any other projects in the works?
Well, like I said, just basically I'm going to start writing the next Black Swan record soon.
Okay.
And Foreigner starts at the road at the end of May. So, I'm starting to feel pretty confident that will actually happen. So yeah, I mean, I kind of got the rest of my year planned out.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
Great interview.
Oh, thank you very much. Hope to talk to you again
My
sometime.
pleasure, man. Well, you take care, and hopefully we'll talk again with the Black Swan record.
Gotcha. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, man. Thanks.
All right. You bet. Bye.
Bye-bye.